Hi everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. Before we get started, be sure that you are following me over on Instagram. I post lots of great tips, tricks, and hacks over there, so be sure to check it out. In today's video, we're going to be using some Teckwrap Puff HTV to create this really fun shirt. But we're also going to be using the new Cricut Warp feature to make this design. I'm going to show you a lot of great tips in here, including how to slice out from multiple layers of your design. This is super easy, super fun, and I can't wait to show you how to do this. So let's get started. Whatever we would do, we do it just for fun. To make that really fun design that I showed you at the beginning, we're going to use the new Warp feature in Design Space. This is so fun, so easy. We're going to be using some offsets and some slicing, so you're going to learn a couple of cool skills to do this. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the image that I want to use. Now you can use any design that you want, but I'm going to use a baseball for this, and I'm going to use this baseball right here. This baseball is 3 layers, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to slice this out. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to my canvas. Now I do want the laces to be like straight up and down, so I'm just going to turn my image just so I can get that to be kind of where I want it to be. And that's not quite as straight as I'd like it, so that's where I want it right here. The next thing I'm gonna do is add my text. So for my text, I'm just gonna choose the team, the Bears. I don't know. This will work with any team name that you wanna use. I just am gonna go with the Bears. Now I'm using a font called College, and I'll link it down below to where I got it. This is a great font if you're doing sports related things. Now we're going to warp our text to be one that is bigger on the outsides and smaller on the insides. It's a really popular look for sports related things. So your warp option is only available currently while this video is being filmed on the beta version of Design Space. I'll show you really quick where to access that if you're not running beta. You can tell if you're running beta because right here at the top it will say beta and what version. If it doesn't say that, go to your settings menu. Go down to actually where it says settings, and you'll see that there's an application experience option right here. You want to change this to the beta and then click done. Now it might update, so do that before you get started on this because it'll be a lot easier. So let's go ahead and warp our words first. So what we'll do is up at the top, click on the word warp, and then there's all sorts of different options for how you can make your words and design them. It's really up to you and which design you want to do, but I'm going to do this one at number 8 here because like I said, this one's super popular for like sports related things. I think that's perfect. It's super cute. Now let me size it so that I have it as big as I want it to go over my baseball. I think that's pretty good. I think I want it quite a bit bigger than the ball. Now something else is I want this back black layer to be solid. And currently it's not. It's like just the edges, like you'd have to line everything up perfectly, and I am not doing that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually contour this to hide all of these open areas. You don't have to click on them all. You can just click hide all contours and it's gonna make you a solid black ball. You can go ahead and click that and just send it back to the back. That way your design still looks like it should. Now we do want to add an offset to the word Bears because we're going to slice it out so that it stands out a little bit from the baseball. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of get this lined up on the ball where I want it, which I think that's pretty good. Maybe over a little bit. I think that's pretty good right there. I'm going to go up to the top right next to where we have warp, and I'm going to use offset. Now I want a pretty small offset on this, so let's see what like 0.1 looks like. I think that's actually pretty good for what I want it to look like, so I'm going to click apply. The next thing that we need to do is to slice the offset out of all of the layers because we don't want a ton of layers, and I also don't want the actual like full layer under the bears just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate my offset because I am going to use that. But I want to make sure to slice out the offset from the rest of my design. So I'm going to move the offset off, and I'm going to move the word Bears off of our baseball. Now we need to slice the offset out of each of the layers of our baseball, which is 3 full layers. So this can be a little bit daunting, but I promise it's actually a lot easier than you think it's going to be. So what I want to do is I'm going to select the word offset right here. So the bear's offset. Hold shift on my keyboard and let's slice it out of the red stitches first. Once you have those two items selected, and remember you can only select 2 items in your layers panel, you're going to go down to the bottom and click the word slice. Now it may take a second to do everything, just give it a half a second and it will slice it out. Now what I want to do before I do anything else is I'm going to take the 2 black pieces, so the slice result and slice result that are 2 black pieces, I'm going to go down to combine and I'm going to weld them. That's going to give me the offset back the way I had it so that I'm able to slice it out of the next 2 layers. Now I want to delete the smaller piece of red just to get rid of that. We don't need it. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to grab that weld result and then I'm going to grab the white of my baseball. I'm going to click slice again and we're going to do that same thing where we're going to weld together the black pieces. So this piece and this piece, go down to combine and weld. And then you want to get rid of the smaller white section. So go ahead and just delete that. And then we have to do one more slice. So you're going to hold shift and grab the big round ball and click slice. Now for this one, you can get rid of all of the small pieces of your slice. You don't need to keep the offset anymore. And now what you'll see is you have this slice. Now we've got some weird little lines, but I'm not worried about it. It'll be fine. What I'm going to do now is right click on this and I'm going to send this to the back. And then I'm going to bring my design back in. So here we go with the bears and then the bears. Now you can see that this one is behind the other one. So what you can do is right click on it and just bring it to the front. Now it's really up to you whether you want the offset or not. You can kind of do it however you want. I prefer it kind of without the offset around it. I think it looks pretty cool. I like the design. I like the way it looks. I think it's a fun design and it's going to be really cool. We're going to do the bears in like a teal color because that's kind of the color of puff that I have. So I'm going to grab that and just change the color. Now again, you can play with it, do whatever you want. You could even add a really small offset if you wanted to. So if I wanted to do like a really little offset around it, like a 0.07, just to sort of add that offset, I can do that. It's just a matter of how you want it to look. So you can just play with it, figure it out, do it how you want to do it, really up to you and the way you want it to look. So you have a ton of different options. Now you can see that that offset that I set originally didn't seem to hold. You'll have that from time to time, so let me just redo that and just see if it will stay this time. Sometimes it can be a little bit insane and do just crazy things that Design Space just makes up on its own. Now I'm going to change the color of that offset to like purple just so you can see it. Let's hide the black one. So see, you can really kind of add whatever you want. Like I said, it's up to you. Do what you want. I'm going to do it without the offsets just because I like it better that way. But again, if you don't, that's okay. Now we are going to be using HTV for all of this. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to grab everything and I'm going to size it because that's huge. That's going to be way too big for our shirt. So I'm just going to size it down. And this is going to go on an adult large. So you can kind of make it anywhere between like 8 to 10 inches. It really depends on that design that you're doing. And a lot of times it really just depends on, especially if it's going on a woman, you'll want to kind of keep that in mind too. On a man, you can go a little bit wider, but on a woman, you're going to want to keep it onto the slightly more narrow end of the 10 inches. So typically I go about 9.5. I might go a little bigger if I'm doing something like this where it has a longer word, but you just play with it. Like I said, anywhere between like 9, 10, somewhere in there is usually pretty good. Now, once I've got that size the way I want it to, I'm going to go ahead and choose the option to flip this. We're going to flip it horizontally because we are using HTV for this. Once you've got everything flipped or ready to go, you can go ahead and hit Make It. You're going to see that you have 4 mats, which are going to be for your 4 colors. You have white, black, blue, and red. The blue is going to be our puff, and the other is just going to be regular HTV. So let's head over to the machine, get these cut out. These are all going to cut on the everyday iron-on setting. We're ready to start cutting the HTV, so what I'm going to do is place it on to my mat here, And you just want to make sure that you're placing this carrier sheet side down. That's super important with this type of HTV that we're using. So I'm going to get everything cut out. Everything cuts on the everyday iron-on setting. Shirts anymore. I've had this one for a while, but this is the shirt we're going to put it on. I believe it is 100% cotton, and we have a V-neck, which makes life so easy to line up because you can line it directly with the V. You want to put your image right below the V. Normally you'd say 3 down from the collar, but that would literally put it on your stomach. So when you're working with a V-neck shirt, you want to put it right on that V, just like right below it. So I folded my image in half and just put a little crease in it to find where center was. And I'm going to put that down. That looks pretty good. And then I like to just do what I like to call a dry fit, which is where I just put all the pieces of the little puzzle together, which is basically just putting the ball together. That's way off, but that's okay. I really just want to make sure that it looks like I've weeded everything. I want to make sure that I know what direction everything goes. That's really all I'm doing, is just sort of making sure that all the parts cut, everything does fit, like nothing got cut off or cut weird, and just making sure that it looks like it's all gonna work on the shirt. I think that looks really cute, super fun, really easy. Now, because we are layering, we're gonna be pressing each layer for just a few seconds until we get to the last layer, which is this layer of puff. I'm going to press everything at 305 degrees. These first 3 layers, I'm just going to press for just a couple of seconds, and then we will do a full press for our last layer, which will be for about 15 seconds. So I'm going to take this over to the heat press, get that press ready to go, and then we're going to get everything pressed, and we'll have a really cute shirt. We're ready to press this first layer. So all we're going to do is just press this for just a couple of seconds. You're not going to do a full press, and I may need to turn the pressure down a little bit. It's a little bit higher than I would typically press at. So there's a knob on my heat press that I can just turn to change my pressure. So I'm just going to turn it down a little for the next layers. And then you're just going to peel your carrier sheet. You've just pressed it enough that it's going to stay on your shirt. You haven't pressed it so that it's a full press yet. So I'm going to get my next layer, get that lined up, and I'm going to let this cool down a little bit before I put that layer on, because you want to allow it to cool a bit. If you don't, you can get some bubbling in your vinyl layers, because what happens is the heat from this layer actually activates the adhesive on the next layer. So that's why I like to let this cool for a bit. And I want to make sure I get this even and laid down correctly. So I'm going to use the bears part, right where the word bears is, to get this lined up so that it fits correctly onto the black. So I may need to move it a little bit. You're just going to kind of adjust your movements, just gently adjust them, and you're going to get your design to fit on top of your other design here. So I think that looks pretty close, pretty good. So again, I just want to press this for just a couple of seconds. I don't want to do anything like too much. I'm usually doing about 3 to 4 seconds per layer. It's going to help with shrinkage, number one, but number two, it's also going to help allow that vinyl not to turn into a big bubbly mess. So now again, I want to allow this to cool fully before I put my next layer down, which is going to be the red stitches. This is cooled for a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put the red layer on. Now, I don't remember which way it goes, so I probably am going to have to, if I don't get it right the first time, I might have to flip it, but actually I got it right. Heck yeah! So what you'll do is get this lined up till you're happy. That looks actually really good. I did a good job. I'm going to go ahead and press this one again just for a couple of seconds. I don't want to do anything crazy. I'm going to go ahead and get that one on. Once this one's on, again, I want to allow this to fully cool because the last layer we're going to do is going to be the puff layer. That's going to go right here in the center, and I do want to make sure that this is nice and cool because we're going to be doing that last final full press on this to allow that puff to puff and to make sure that everything is well pressed down. Now that this one is cooled, it's time to add our puff. Now, this carrier sheet is not particularly sticky, so I don't want to just lay it down like this because I'm afraid that it will shift a little bit. What I want to do is add some heat tape. I have this little heat tape dispenser. It's honestly the best thing ever. I will put it in the video description. I absolutely love it. It is such a game changer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of heat tape just on the ends of our word, and I might move this over a little bit on my pressing pillow because the S is just a little close to the edge for my taste. So I think I'm going to scooch the pressing pillow over just a touch. It's fine on the other side, but it's not quite far enough over for my taste on one side. I'm just going to double check, make sure that looks good and even. And then we're going to press this at 305 for about 15 seconds. And we're using a medium firm pressure. Now that that's pressed, go ahead and lift up, and you're going to take your carrier sheet off right away. And because I used the heat tape, I want to make sure I get that off. I'm going to pop that off. And then I'm going to let this sit and cool down a bit before I do anything else with it. I wanted to show you guys this angle because I think it really shows the puff pretty well. This did puff really nicely, but my one thing is, and this could be just that I haven't gotten my heat press settings exact, but if you look, it's got that popcorny texture on the top, which I don't love, but I do believe that that is more of a, I need to get my heat press settings a little bit better. But I think it's really cool. I love how it came out, and I think it really looks good. Look how puffy. It's so puffy. The people that have commented, I've seen some people say, oh, it didn't puff. I couldn't get it to puff. Make sure that you're using those heat settings correctly, and you may need to adjust some, and I will say that an easy press does not seem to work with puff as well as a true traditional press. I absolutely think this came out great. I love the new warp feature. Being able to do this, it took 2 seconds and it was great. And I hope that you guys picked up some tips and tricks to working with bunches of layers and slicing something like this out so that you have that slight offset there, which I really think helps make the little logo stand out. This was really easy to do, really fun, and making it with puff just adds that little bit of pizzazz that maybe we're looking for. But look, I think that puffed great. I think it looks so good. Other than the popcorny texture, which really I don't mind, it's just not quite correct, but I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. So just to reiterate, we did press each layer at 305 degrees. We did the black, the white, and the red for just a couple of seconds, and then we did the final press, which included the puff, for full 15 seconds with a medium firm pressure. If you guys have any questions, by all means, let me know in those comments down below. And don't forget to use code Corinne10 to save 10% on your Teckwrap order. You can use that all over their website for both HTV, vinyl, accessories, all the things. So be sure to check it out. I absolutely love their products. They have wonderful vinyl. They have great HTV. And I really think they have a lot of wonderful finishes and colors that you can't find other places. So be sure to check them out. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, happy crafting.